Where's everybody?
I don't know, where is everybody?
There was a lot of people out there when I came out.
I don't know.
They're all gone.
Because our core directions was to be dedicated to our youth. Yeah.
And we have really sick people who need to be tended to medically, and holy cow, this is all spent on good cruising and good eating and living in Howard Johnson's and eating the best, while their whole nation goes poverty and goes without, especially the children. These people are very unaware that children go without food because they didn't care, because their own stomachs are filled with food. That's why they all have fat bellies too, tribal council people. And then if you looked at district people, you know, they're kind of real skinny people. Because I'm a skinny human being because I always have to walk. $500 maintenance. Shit, I need my car fixed. Look at these, could have all bought an Indian, a res bomb, because the res bombs are $500 marks. Look at how many Indians could have been in a vehicle. Life could have been less stressful. And then it's like we always had to beg these guys for $2 because we're standing over here without gas. Can you give us a few bucks? But you know, money as power goes hand in hand with greed. So somebody that was so disempowered, didn't have that much bucks up the wazoo, once they got into places like this, it caused a paradigmatic shift of value and belief system to a more greedy way of being. This man used to be a good guy.
$85 million comes down to this reservation from the government. Where does that money go? It doesn't come to us. It's all the higher ups, you know. They all steal that money.
They took all our money. They play with it. Just a few people, 16 people.
You have Kevin Grover, who was the assistant secretary back in Clinton's years, who made the statement that this system was meant to fail. And we still have this system here.
An unelected person as the treasurer of the tribe, who was appointed by the tribal council, actually ran things, and people see this. And
the treasurer, in the collusion with the BIA superintendent, because of the relationship with him being the godfather of the superintendent's daughter,
was a little dictatorship from the council itself, and no one could do anything about it.
Treasurer compromised a voting block of the tribal council to have his way. He wouldn't attend routine executive weekly meetings and make his reports, and he wouldn't respond to me as his supervisor.
Everything was hidden. They didn't do their reports. Everything was behind closed doors.
And he used money as a means of capturing his support of the council members themselves by giving them stipends to meet off the reservation, travel monies to go elsewhere.
People paying themselves travel allowances, 3 checks in one day. They pay themselves $500 for vehicle maintenance a week. So that's $2,000 going into their pocket.
The councilmen were averaging $67,000 above their own income, which is about $35,000. So roughly $100,000 a year we're paying our councilmen, who in turn help their own family members and friends.
None of these tribal council members that get on board never had an income more than $15,000 a year, okay, in their life. So when they get on board and they found out there's some monies there that could be taken.
And when you control the finance committee, which are council members, then you do control the whole reservation.
So that's why we're here. And we want the audit. And we want the people at council, we want them out.
I was frustrated and angry.
So I said, this is the 3rd time we called a meeting, and the treasurer and his organization have refused us to meet with us.
A lot of the girls that work within the tribal system, they began furnishing information to us and began opening books to us that began to show us where exactly this money was going to. And they began to see all of these huge amounts of money going to just certain people and their families. The books are being audited and the officials are being investigated.
I asked a group of people to monitor the tribal office to ensure that there was witnesses to physical, financial documents and inventory being taken from the tribal office. A grassroots revolution was empowered to take to task the present system of tribal government. A large group of people at that time started coming around to support that effort to ensure the treasurer didn't walk out with boxes of financial information and histories. Tribal politics was finally revealed for what it really was. A few days later, the approach to set up a stronghold in the tribal office was recommended.
So that's when I announced the takeover at 2 p.m. on the 16th of January.
I had to play the game of, I guess, posturing on behalf of the people.
The president was okay with it. That was his cellway. And BIA superintendent was not okay with it.
It is our building. Under 68 treaty, this is a Red Cloud agency, and the building belongs to the people. All we did is we came home.
I want to see the tribal treasurer, Wesley Chuck Jacobs, removed permanently and banished from the reservation.
And we secured the documents and gave it to the FBI to do the audit.
The parts that are caged up, sealed up, and taped up are done by the Tagalas. That's what we've been guarding for the past 32, 33 days. I've been here the longest. I've been here since the beginning.
And we're still here until the treasure is removed.
And I plan to be here at the tribal building as long as it takes for a change to happen.
So I come over here to support elders and be bossed around by them and scolded by them. They chewed them and chewed out. But I come back. I said, I'm a diehard. You can get mad at me, you can call me down to my face, but in the end, I believe in what is going on here, the objectives, the goals. I believe it. So I'll always be back. So you can get mad at me, but I'll be walking in again.
I pray that I will be able to help to create a better government for the yet unborn for our Lakota Nation.
And what's the reaction of the authorities on the reservation being?
Shock. Is like, how could these people do this? And it was just like even the district council representatives, it's like a shock to them, like how dare these people do this, but we did it.
And this has been a long time coming. It didn't just happen overnight.
When the occupation first started, there were many, many people. It was a real crucial time. They all stood together. They knew that, it is in numbers that we will be strong.
In reservation terms, we always say, we stood our ground. Oh, that means even if they're gonna come fight you, you're gonna stand your ground. And then if you got a big mouth like me, and if you're pretty vocal, you better know how to fall and hit that ground hard too.
How many people were in there?
Oh, there was a turnover every day. There's actually 60 of us every day, but they take turns. And backbone of that was Chief Red Cloud and myself and Eileen Janice.
Before they got rid of me, we passed, the executive committee passed a resolution to conduct this audit. The Bureau of Indian Affairs paid for it. And when that happened, the second requirement was to get rid of Mr. Chuck Jacobs. They were very adamant about getting rid of him because of the damage he caused the people, one individual. But what that reflected was the weakness of this IRA government we live under. It's open for corruption, and sure enough, corruption did occur, and it was reflected in an audit. And the second requirement was to get rid of the treasurer. But
and every time we complain to Washington, they don't want to believe us because they'll believe them. Because they're government workers and we're not. We're just humans.
it created a very powerful portrayal of the decades of suppressing and oppressing the people through the institution of tribal government, and basically flushed out the weaknesses of tribal government and the Bureau of Indian Affairs.
The people who were at the Red Cloud building started chasing people away. Like ourselves who were there speaking for a traditional government, they started threatening us and telling us to leave. Their Tokalo societies are going to come out and come in and take us out, things like that. So I just left. I took my sister Antoinette and all my kids, and we left from there. And
a lot of our warrior members were into pot and drinking, and they came in there and they wanted money and cigarettes, and I said no. But the warriors that don't want to do anything want to smoke pot up in the top of the tribal building, which we couldn't stop. And they were really violating what the purpose was there for. That's why I left in June. The spiritual respect was gone.
Do you think it went on way too long?
Yeah, way too long. The purpose was there to go in and get the records. That's what our purpose was. So we did. In 5 months, we did what we're supposed to do. There's some ladies that did embezzlement, went to jail for it. They're blaming us for them going to jail. But they're the ones that were stealing the money. Because money is hard to come by on this reservation. Every chance to have, somebody steals. It still goes on.
Some people were eventually jailed. The positive effects of it was it empowered the traditional presence of the people. The negative effects was it created a very strong distrust for tribal government. So the treasurer went out and the audits were accomplished.
I mean, do you feel the same corruption is still going on, or?
It is.
There's been a new superintendent since then. Have things improved on that side?
Well, for that individual superintendent, he was put in a law enforcement position and eventually removed.